All right, welcome to another Dolphin Computer Service video. Today I want to talk about this little thing here. It's right on the screen here. It's what we call power inverters. So normally you get one of these at like Walmart, Amazon, Home Depot, Costco, they're even AutoZone, they even have these. So what most people buy these for is they want to plug it into their little, 12 volt cigarette lighter as you see here. And it gives them, a USB, one wall outlet or two, and they come in various forms. The cigarette one, I believe, goes up to 500 watt, and they go to as many as you can pump out, or as many batteries as they're connected to. So here's the thing. So these are usually really cheap. Like this is the 120 watt version, but they sell a 100 watt version that's literally $9.87 at Walmart. They're dirt cheap. So like I said, they get bigger too. Like here's a bigger example one. This one's a 4,000 continuous watt unit, and this one, as you see here, connects directly to the battery or batteries. Usually, something this large, you would have multiple battery banks feeding this kind of thing. It gives you, 4 outlets. So, however, there's a big difference. So, the reason why I'm making this video is because I see a lot of people. In fact, your car may have this built in too. I see a lot of people in companies where they have, they give their employees a laptop and they're out on the field. They have either a company vehicle or if you're just a person, by yourself and you just need something to keep your laptop charged while you're using it. They buy themselves one of these. But there's actually two different versions of these. So this one that you see here, if you go on their website, it tells you it's a modified square wave. So when you look at the other one here, it says, if we zoom in on here, it says pure sine wave. So this is what I mean here. So this is the overlay of a modified square wave and a pure sine wave. So the square wave, as you can see, is a square. And the sine wave is this blue one here. So the reason why these, like this one, is less than $10, and this one here is about $500, even us, ignoring the fact that one is like 5 times the capacity, is because of this. So the square wave is a lot cheaper to make, but the trade-off is, you see here, it's very spiky. And the sine wave, if we look more at a regular sine wave, this is what comes out of your wall. So regardless of whether you live in Florida or you live in Hawaii or you live in Alaska, from the wall, this is how it comes out. You see how it's very smooth. It transitions from trough to crest very smoothly. And the reason why it comes out of the wall like that is just because this is AC power. And two, when these power companies, spend millions upon billions of dollars to develop, electrical generation on how to do it better, more efficient, how to get it to go long distances. They have good equipment. And a lot of today's sensitive electronics require the fact that this is the way the sine wave is supposed to be. So back to the square wave here. So the square wave, again, is because it's cheaper. So Dell makes a version of one of these here, and it goes for about $45-50 to start off with. So the reason, again, why you would want a pure sine wave over one of these square wave ones is because a lot of sensitive electronics need the sine wave in order for it to function properly. So I'm going to go on to a list here, a small little list from a website here that shows you what you cannot put on a modified square wave. And the long story short is, if you're using your laptop on one of these, whether the company gave it to you or, you bought one, or in my case, I actually got one of these for free because I had a family member that was just going to throw it away, and, it's perfect in case of an emergency. So the reason why, I'm making this video is because a lot of these people, they have this specifically to plug in their laptop and to charge it. So when you have one of these with the square wave, it's usually the charger that suffers the brunt of the square wave. There's nothing wrong with these. If you just want to, like plug in like a lamp really quick, a light bulb, even charge up your phone with the USB ports, this is more than adequate. You just need to make sure the power output is appropriate. So if you have a 65 watt, power supply to charge your laptop, you don't want the 60 watt version. The 100 watt version should be more than enough. So when you plug in your laptop, again, the charger is usually what takes the brunt of it. So your charger converts AC 120 volts to DC, whatever voltage the battery uses. Sometimes it's 12, 20, 24, 48 volts, 52 volts, whatever, the manufacturer sets their batteries to. So the square wave, again, a lot of electronics now, usually have some sort of equipment built into it to handle it. But when you use square wave on something that's, meant for a sine wave, it makes it run real hot and real inefficient. So if you ever touched your laptop, brick, the charger, the little brick there, even the wall, like it can get pretty hot. Like sometimes it's even hot, too hot to even touch it. So imagine plugging into something that makes it run even less efficient and makes it run even hotter than it normally would. And then add to the fact that it may be in a hot car. So when you put them together, it can be a recipe for disaster. And again, since it's the charger that usually takes the brunt of this, you can possibly shorten the lifespan of that charger. And eventually, if you do it enough times where the charger just dies, it may even affect your entire laptop, because if there's a short inside the battery, inside the charger, that charger can send pure 120 volts to your computer, and it can cause your whole entire computer to fry out. And I know how power supplies, from personal experience, can fry a whole computer, because I personally had a computer where the power cable that connected from the wall to the power supply, that little D plug, had developed a short in it, and it caused my power supply to short circuit inside and fry the whole computer, and my room smelled like smoke for 3 days. So I know exactly how those cables, how even though it's far downstream, how being far downstream can affect, everything upstream. So there's a lot of stuff that you don't want connected to a modified square wave. So Dell recommends that their laptops be connected to a pure sine wave inverter, and I actually agree with them for the most part. And the reason why I say the most part is because let's say you're at, that same Walmart where you buy that $9 inverter. If you're buying, a $100 or $200 laptop that you're going to either throw it away, or, it's only there for the sake of work, it's only on for a couple hours a day, just to, clock in and clock out whenever you have internet, or you go by the passing McDonald's and, use their free Wi-Fi just to, put your time in, or just to charge, something to charge your phone, something like that. That's more than enough. The modified squared wave is more than enough. But, if you're spending $2,000 on a brand new MacBook Pro, that I would not use a $10 inverter that could possibly damage my computer. I would spring for the extra $50. If you're spending $2,000, what's an extra $50? And for the employers out there that say, well, if I have 10 employees and I need to buy 10 of them at $10, that's a lot of money. And then if I have to buy it at $50, that's even a lot more money. But I'm gonna tell you this: when even though it's at $50 a piece, let's say, your employee's computers start getting damaged and you have to start replacing chargers, start replacing, sending your computers in to get repaired, or even replacing entire computers because these things are dying, semi frequently. That initial expense is going to look really cheap when eventually in a couple of years you have to replace every single laptop or every single charger a couple of times. So, but like I also said, on the flip side, not to scare anybody, a lot of these electronics, and nowadays manufacturers put in stuff to guard against, that kind of damage when they use on a square wave. But, it's something you don't want to test the waters and find out the hard way, So now what's safe to put on them is, light bulbs, the heating element. Let's say you have a little coffee warmer that fits in your cup holder and wants to keep your coffee warm for the drive to work, even again, plug in occasionally, let's say you have a laptop that's full and you just want to, plug it in to keep it full while you're using it. That's fine. Charge your phone. That's all fine. But there's a bunch of stuff where you specifically do not want to plug into a modified square wave. You want it a pure sine wave. And, again, here, you're not going to have a whole laser printer or photocopier in your truck or your car. But, basically, long story short, it's anything with sensitive electronics. Like, you don't want to plug in a full desktop computer into one of those things because, 120 watts isn't going to be able to handle a full-size computer. And 2, you don't want, to mess up a whole desktop computer just because you wanted to try something stupid or, you thought you could do it in a couple of minutes. A lot of, chargers for cordless tools that, charge the batteries, like those fancy lithium ion batteries from Milwaukee or DeWalt. A lot of them don't like it because, again, it makes the charger work harder and hotter, and it eventually shortens the lifespan of those tools. And when a battery costs $250, you don't want to risk, a $10 thing ruining $250 worth of just the battery. And this one's the most important one here. Medical equipment. You do not want, if your life is depending on an oxygen generator or, a breathing apparatus like a CPAP, if you're sleeping at night and you have sleep apnea, those machines generally cost quite a bit of money. And, let's say you're spending, $500, $1,000, $2,000 on a piece of equipment meant to either help improve your quality of life or help keep you alive. The last thing you want to do is ruin that piece of equipment because you thought $10 was a lot better than $50. Again, that's something you don't want to play with, especially when it's your life. And then as you see here, a few laptop computers, because like I said, if it's a cheap, $100 Walmart laptop, that's probably fine. But if you're spending $2,000 on the latest MacBook Pro 15-inch with, upgraded graphics, CPU, and the highest spec RAM you can put on it, what's an extra $50 when you're spending $2,000 plus on a system? So let's say you're, as this thing here says, off the grid and you're running on a generator. I'm going to credit here I forgot his name, Mr. Silver Symbol here. He has a great channel. He tests a whole bunch of generators for those people, whether it's the battery powered generator, where it's essentially a giant battery, or one of these, gas generators. He has a great channel. He goes through a lot of testing. This is a sample of one of them. I'm not going to play the video. I just wanted to show you here this little graph here he took from this $99 generator he bought from Harbor Freight. But if you are out there and you need to plug in your laptop, even if it's an emergency, you never want to plug into one of these style of generators. This is just your typical generator that you get at Northern, Harbor Freight, Home Depot. Even West Marine has a few of them. You never want to plug in even if it's your refrigerator, which you can't use on a modified sine wave, square wave, correction. You don't want you will never want to plug in, because just look at that graph. You see here it goes up and then it spikes down. There's a lot of spikes, here that can damage sensitive electronics. If you plug in your computer or even your microwave, refrigerator, to that, it will definitely kill it in a very short amount of time. These types of generators, I've actually seen one of these in person. They're great when you just need to, have a couple of lights outside. Maybe you have a cheap corded tool, that uses brushes and it could care less on what it runs on. That's what these things are meant for. That's what these kind of generators are meant for. They go as small as this, where they're only, like 500, 1,000 watts. And they go as big to like 5,000, 6,000 watts, I've even seen one like in this style with 10,000 watts, But again, those are the kind of things you see at construction sites or for, very emergency use, where you just need to set up a couple of lights. You need to plug in a heater to keep you warm or to cook your food. That's what these are for. And again, I'm going to link Mr. Silver Symbol here in my video on the comment on the description, so you can watch his videos. He has a whole bunch of videos on these things. They're absolutely great. And if you are in the market of a generator to supply you with emergency power, I would recommend getting yourself an inverter. Again, I'm not sponsored by anyone or anything. I don't have the Honda. I have the Harbor Freight version, which is called the Predator. I have the 3500. These things are quiet and these things are great. They're called inverter generators because they have the inverter built in, and these use pure sine waves. So you can plug in your laptop, your fancy high definition TV, sound system, and if they're big enough, even your air conditioning, your refrigerator. I have a 3500 watt. It's actually more than enough to power everything I need in my house, minus the refrigerator. Minus the air conditioning. But these things are perfect for that. They're usually lightweight. I think one of these things weighs 30 pounds. So if you're like traveling, you have it in the back of your pickup truck. I've even seen in fact, when I used to work in construction as an electrical engineer, I saw a lot of people, construction companies, they don't even use the other style like you see here. They use this style even just to run lights and corded power tools, because I guess they realize that, hey, it's quiet. It helps the workers in a better environment. It's not so loud. And, you could use it on anything. You don't have to specifically just use it for lights and heating or anything else. You can plug anything into it and it'll be fine. So, again, I know sometimes in an emergency you have to plug them in. I even had to plug in one of these things for myself when I had a dead tablet and I needed to charge it really quick. Again, and if you have to plug into one of these, turn off the device completely and just let it charge. Don't use it while it's running on one of these, because it will kill it. Just have it charge the battery, and and if your charger survives, it'll be fine. But you don't want to plug in any medical equipment, anything life critical, anything with sensitive electronics like a refrigerator, a microwave, or anything like that on one of these. These are strictly for lights, heating, and powering, like a cheap power tool that uses which is a brush design. Brushed electric motors generally don't have a problem running on stuff like this, but again, if it's sensitive electronics, don't plug into these things. And if your car has one of these built into it, like I know the new Fords and Toyotas have in the bed of the pickup truck, they have a place where you can plug in stuff. I would always recommend you look at the manufacturer's owner's manual of your vehicle to see if it's modified or if it's pure sine wave. Do your research before you just plug in something and possibly destroy your equipment. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something today. See you all in the next.